You know, Steve, I'm starting to worry about a couple things. This hike is really drying me out, and of course we didn't bring any water. I'm also afraid of running into a raiding party of Apache Indians who, you know, they might not be familiar with our show.
Don't worry about it, Norm. Sabino Creek is filled with all the fresh water you could possibly want to drink, and that's for those Apaches. There have been Apaches in this valley for 200 years. Ooh. Trail gets a little narrow here, Norman. It's a pretty good-sized drop.
Great. Now I got something else to worry about. When you think of Arizona, you think of the desert. You don't think of torrents of water like this.
Well, in the summertime, this will be down to just a trickle, but here in winter, the snow's melting up on Mount Lemmon. They're just recharging the aquifer.
That's what they need around here.
Sure is.
What do we have here, a lake?
Yeah, that stream flows down into this lake. It's called Sabino Lake. And it was built in the 30s as a fishing hole, if you can believe that.
Is that right?
Now, what you don't see from here very clearly is the dam, and that's quite a piece of work.
Lead on. Boy, Steve, this is spectacular. And this park is so pristine. Who takes care of it?
It's the U.S. Forest Service. The park's open 24 hours a day, all year round. And it is a great resource for the folks here in Tucson.
Well, it's great for the whole nation. I can tell you this, I'm going to come back for another visit.
Funding for this old house is provided by
Glidden Paints, celebrating 120 years of making the world a more colorful place. Glidden, a better way to paint.
When it comes to tough hand tools, we're making a name for ourselves because they're made with a full lifetime warranty. That's Ace, the name to know for hand tools.
and by
State Farm Insurance. Keeping our promise of protection to generation after generation. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Looks like you're boxed in for a while, Norm.
Have you ever seen so many contractors' trucks on a job site?
That's great. Now that's a load of concrete for the floor in the library.
Well, I'm going to go get some directions to find my way to the cabinet maker's shop where they're starting on the Mesquite kitchen cabinets.
Wow.
Just hope I can get out of here.
Good luck. There's a lot to do today.
Hey, Steve, how was Sabino Canyon?
It was sublime, John. We'll be back.
Oh, great.
So what's happening here?
Well, we're mixing some synthetic iron oxide into some ready mix, and we're going to pour a traditional red concrete floor in the media room.
Iron oxide, huh?
Yeah. This is the stuff right here.
Yeah.
We mix it in 5 bags to 6 yards of concrete.
Now, why do it here on the site? Why not do it at the plant?
We get much better control over the color when we do it on the job.
Well, I'd like to see how you prep the floor there.
Let me
in the
show you.
library. Whoa! What happened in here, John? Last time we saw this room, it was the library.
It used to be the library, Steve.
Now, didn't it have a pretty nice tile floor?
Well, it had a tile floor, but Colleen Meggs, our homeowner, hated this floor, so we jackhammered it out for her.
Well, then what'd you have to do?
Well, then we brought in fill dirt, which we've chemically pre-treated to guard against termite infestation.
Termites?
Yeah.
Wire mesh.
Wire mesh to keep it from cracking.
And then you got some grade stakes.
And that shows the guys how deep we're going to pour it today.
Hey, roll on the concrete.
Let's get it in.
Boy, this stuff sure is red.
Yeah, it is, Steve. The darker the red, the more traditional the color.
Well, I see how he gets it level. He takes a long aluminum screen, and he works from that grade stake we saw earlier to a level line snapped on the wall.
That's right. This is what gives us our perfectly flat, regular floor surface.
Well, how long do you figure it's going to be before they can start finishing?
Well, Steve, during the next 4 or 5 hours, the concrete will start to heat up, and they will tamp it and float it and trowel it. It'll be a while.
Now, this gentleman has a metal rack with a lath on the bottom. What's that all about?
That's a tamper, Steve, and he's tamping the big aggregate down and bringing the cream to the top.
The cream.
The cream is the cement and the very fine particles of sand.
And that's what will allow them to get that smooth finish we see?
That's correct. That's the surface we're looking for. And after they tamp it, then they'll bull float it.
Beautiful to watch. Jim, you must be thrilled, because this job is going great guns.
We are thrilled beyond belief. Boy, Colleen's going to love this red floor.
Well, I love it too. Now, most homeowners at this point in the project would be suffering from extreme meltdown, but you seem pretty serene.
Well, you know, we've had our share of surprises on this project, but we anticipated that happening, so it hasn't been a problem. There are a lot of little details and odds and ends that we've had to deal with that we do on a daily basis, which makes it stressful. But
like what?
Well, for example, out here in the outdoor kitchen, we've got this existing buttress that comes down off the roof structure there.
Yeah.
We added this new fireplace, and the masons added a buttress, and they just don't balance. They work against each other. They're different shapes, as you can see.
Oh, I see. So either you got to make this one look like that one, or that one look like this one.
And that's what we're debating.
There's a third alternative, Jim.
Which is?
Leave it alone, man, and go on with your life.
No, we've got to get them just right. They have to be perfect. Steve, here's yet another one of those little nagging architectural details that we've had to deal with on site day by day. This is going to be a formal library. We'll have floor-to-ceiling black walnut bookshelves around. It'll be a very powerful space. Having said that, we had an existing closet here, which we are now converting into a powder room for the guests.
So sink will be on this wall here.
Sink there and water closet over here.
What's the issue?
The issue is the doorway. We've gone through several different concepts on this. We were talking about doing a black walnut raised panel door here, such that it would be detailed like everything else in here and kind of just go away. It would just be innocuous. Taking that a step further, we were talking about doing bookshelves here that you could actually push a book and the whole thing would open, revealing the powder room.
Ooh, I like that idea. It's sort of James Bond.
It is, but you know, if you think about it, if I sent somebody from somewhere else in the house to use the bathroom in here and I said push a book open, they'd be in here pushing books all afternoon. I think we'd have an accident before we knew what happened.
How about a pocket door in here, Jim?
Well, a pocket door, because of this existing wall, is just not a good idea. In the nature of the door itself, they tend to remain open, and that's the last thing we want to have.
Because they're hard to operate.
Right.
So how are you leaning on this one?
We're leaning right now toward doing a raised panel to match everything in the library and putting self-closing hinges on it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is a democracy after all. There's enough folks on the site that we could take a vote.
Let's round them up.
Well, since we're talking about design issues, I got a question for you out here in the new kitchen.
Okay.
Now, there's 4 people in your family, and the house is now pretty big, but the kitchen does not seem overly generous.
Well, you know, we didn't want to lose the intimacy of this space. It's just for us to use. It's not a party room. We don't entertain in here. We just cook in here. So we needed it small. We wanted it this way. We've got other spaces that we'll draw upon from this space. We walk out through a series of French doors here onto our outdoor kitchen, which then will lead us out onto the big patio.
So the idea is to try to get people to move through the house instead of just pooling up in the kitchen like
That's
they do
exactly
in my house.
right.
Well, now, you've only got one window here, which faces east.
Right.
Isn't it going to be kind of dark in here? How about cutting a window over here so you can look out onto the courtyard?
Well, there are a couple problems with that. One, we need this wall space for cabinets. We've got floor-to-ceiling cabinets going in here. The other problem is that's west-facing, and here in the southwest, we don't want that sun blazing in here in the afternoon. We'll have enough glass here between that to have a great deal of light.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Now, it looks like you've blown in some insulation of some sort, and this is something that I haven't seen before.
Right. This is a product that they put they put a netting over the structure, and then they blow this fiberglass insulation in over the top. We've got about 18 inches in it up there, and we'll have about an R50 when we're finished, which will be a real nice system.
No vapor barrier?
No vapor barrier. It's so dry here, it's not a problem for us.
So it's ready for board, huh?
It's ready for board now.
Now, one other issue in the kitchen, I guess, is the cabinets. Even as we speak, Norm is off in another part of Tucson with our cabinet maker, James Vasnos.
Right.
And a whole pile of mesquite, which is not destined for a barbecue.
Right. Which I've paid for and still haven't seen. I can't wait to see what they're doing.
All right, Jim. Well, the job's going great.
Thanks.
Well, James, it seems appropriate that a woodworker who likes to build things out of mesquite wood would be surrounded by a grove of mesquite trees.
That's true, Norm. They're wonderful, aren't they?
Well, they seem a bit small and kind of weedy.
Well, that's due to our low annual rainfall that we have here, only 12 inches per year.
And how long to grow a tree like this?
Well, believe it or not, a tree like this will take 20 to 50 years.
Wow. Well, how long does it take to grow a tree big enough to get wood to actually build a project?
Boy, that could be anywhere from 150 to 200 years, Norm.
I don't know if we can wait that long. Ooh, look at this. Now, don't tell me. 1941 Plymouth.
No, Norm, actually, that's a 37 Plymouth Coupe.
Must be an old car enthusiast around here somewhere.
And that's going to be a race car one of these days. But let me show you these logs here. These are mesquite, and we can actually do something with these.
You gotta be kidding. I mean, these look like firewood. You're telling me that you can actually slab decent pieces of lumber out of a curved, gnarly-looking log like this?
That's true. You know, unfortunately, most of our mesquite logs end up in the fireplace. But from logs like this, we can get some boards, and let me show you some.
Okay.
You know, Norm, all this mesquite comes from the wild, and I'm just not comfortable using it until I'm sure it's good and dry.
So how do you dry it?
Well, I built this plywood kiln with a forced air electric heater that I know is good enough to get the boards down to the 6% moisture content that cabinet makers like to use.
So how long do you let the boards cook in here?
Well, this particular kiln load went for 3 weeks at an average temperature of about 100 degrees.
Maybe I should build one of these.
Here's a board we just took out of the kiln, 6% moisture content, and it's ready to go.
Well, not quite ready to make into a piece of furniture yet.
No, I have to establish a straight line, freehand cut on the bandsaw.
How old's the joiner?
1941.
Now you're just going to sweeten that edge.
That's true. Oh, that's our parallel edge. Now for the surface.
Isn't this going to be tough on the joiner knives?
It's tough, hard wood, but you got to do what you got to do. Looks good enough, Norm.
Well, now we've got a nice uniform piece of wood, and I must say, it is beautiful wood. I'm a believer.
Now we're ready to make cabinet parts.
Well, it takes a lot of effort to get the material so that you can cut actual pieces, but if this is what the results are, it's well worth it. I take it that's one of the carcasses for the Meg's Kitchen?
Yes, it is. It's the island unit, and it's one of the larger base units, and it will be right in the center of the kitchen.
Wow, it is beautiful. And it's massive. It's got this heavy buildup on the base, heavy, heavy corners. Now, is this a solid piece of mesquite?
No, that had to be mitered.
Nice job. And then all these moldings, I assume you make on your shaper, and then mitered every corner. And you're really featuring the defects in the mesquite. Here's a small defect here, and on this center style, there's a big area showing. What are you going to do with that?
Well, we'll tint up some epoxy so it's dark to match the melamine, and when the finish is on it, it will really highlight.
Are you going to have doors on each side of this unit?
That's true. Drawers up on top, doors both sides.
And I assume these are some of the door blanks that you started to assemble. Oh, and look at this. You've actually taken the wood and book matched it, so the same feature shows in each panel. So I assume you're going to put these in pairs so that everybody can see the beauty of the wood. That takes a lot of work.
And the matching grain.
Now, what kind of joinery are you using to assemble the doors?
Well, this is the old style mortise and tenon joinery.
So you've run a groove for the panel. You've actually made a mortise to receive the tenon from the rail. And this is a haunch tenon, which has that little piece that you leave on it so that when it's assembled, there's no hole. Oops, wrong way. There's no hole on the end of the stile.
That's correct.
Beautiful. Now, the cabinet certainly looks nice, but I'd like to see what it's going to look like with some finish on this mesquite.
We've got some panels oiled up over here. Let me show you.
Okay.
Well, here's a piece that's been lightly sanded. And watch what happens when I put the tung oil on it.
Now, how many coats of this oil will you apply?
Well, at least 3 to get up a nice varnish-type buildup.
Wow, look at that. That really brings out the beauty of the wood. Well, after being here today, I promise I will never burn another piece of mesquite in my barbecue grill.
Well, I'm glad I made a believer out of you.
Real nice work.
Can I have your matches?
I'll give them to you before I leave.
It's been about 3 hours since the pour, and the masons are in here, perched on their duct boards, really working the floor vigorously. Why is that?
Well, Steve, they'll keep working this floor for quite a while. It's not ready to take a final finish yet, but they'll stay on it just to make sure that the concrete doesn't go off on them. And they use these boards, the knee boards, so that they can continue to work around on the floor without destroying the surface.
And the pattern has already been scored in the floor?
On 24-inch centers, and it's a very traditional Spanish colonial touch.
Now, Marshall Dennington has the task of providing cooling during the summer, and on the odd times that it gets really cold here in the winter, heating. Now, Marshall, I noticed you've got a couple of different supplies here. Is that all you need in the master bedroom?
These two right here are more than adequate for this room.
Great. Now, I see you've got metal ductwork, and you've insulated, I hope?
We normally insulate on the outside, but here in this room here, what we've done is we've insulated on the inside for 2 reasons: to attenuate noise and to prevent condensation.
Oh, that's right. Well, with condensation, you've got a cold duct in a hot space, you get water dripping off the outside.
That's right.
Now, in this house, you've got, what, 3 zones?
We have 3 zones in this house.
Why don't we see the equipment for this room?
Let's go. Now, all of the ductwork finds its way along this area here, over to this mechanical room,
okay,
to this plenum.
I see. So what's going to be underneath the plenum?
Underneath the plenum, we have a blower, a natural gas-fired furnace.
Okay, so that's your heating in the winter.
That's correct.
Okay. How about this?
This is a chilled water coil. It sets up on top of the furnace and provides our cooling in summer.
Okay. And this?
We have a humidifier. Our humidity is pretty low, about 10 to 15%.
Wow.
It runs air across a pre-Morrison pad here and introduces humidity into the house.
Great. And then?
Over here we have an electronic air cleaner. It has a pre-filter, and it positively charges the air and makes the dust particles stick to it.
So is air filtration a big deal out here?
It is out here. It's a pretty dusty climate.
Now, how are you going to control all this?
We have a controller here that controls all aspects of it.
Okay. So you've got humidity, ventilation, heating and cooling all in one control?
All in one, and carbon monoxide as well.
Boy, that sounds great. Now, you mentioned chill water. How are we going to make the chill water for air conditioning?
Well, come on outside and I'll show you.
Okay. Hey, I feel the sun on my bones. It won't be long before we need some air conditioning around here.
Not too long.
Now, what's this all about, Marshall?
This is a gas-fired chiller.
Gas-fired chill. I mean, it sounds so counterintuitive to use gas to make chilled water. How's it work?
Let me show you. Very simply, we have a burner, gas-fired burner, that heats a sealed vessel with an ammonia water content.
Okay.
As the ammonia gets hot, it vaporizes, and ammonia in a vapor state under high pressure gets incredibly cold.
I see, and that's how you chill the water.
That's correct.
Now, is this new technology?
Now, this is technology that's been around 50, 60 years in the form of refrigerators.
Oh, sure. Now, I look at this, I mean, it looks pretty substantial. It can't be inexpensive. Why would anybody want to use gas chillers?
It's a little more upfront cost, but there's basically 5 reasons to use this. 1, lower electrical costs.
Okay.
2, the longevity. This unit will last twice as long as a normal unit, 25 to 30 years.
I mean, the old gas refrigerators lasted forever, sure.
You bet. The other reason is it's completely CFC-free, environmentally safe.
So it doesn't wreck the ozone? Great.
Right. And the gas utility as well gives us a reduced rate per therm. And the last reason, there's only 3 moving parts in the seal system.
I mean, it sounds brilliant, Marshall. So thanks for all your help getting it to us. I think we're going to need it pretty soon, looking at that sun.
It won't be long.
This courtyard is one of the most dramatic spaces we've ever built. When you're standing in it, you sort of feel like you're in a movie set. But you want a real movie set? Get on your horse and ride that way, about 10 miles. Well, Norm, we couldn't come all the way to Tucson, Arizona without paying our respects to this place.
Yeah, old Tucson Film Studios. And what's that all about?
Well, it was built in 1939 as the set of the film Arizona, and then it was added on to bit by bit as they shot more productions here.
Well, that movie was before my time. Who starred in it?
Well, let's see. Gene Arthur and William Holden.
Whoa. Hey.
It's great, huh?
Yeah. I guess I must have missed that movie. You know, this is such a great place. And some of these scenes look familiar. You think John Wayne ever worked here?
Don't you remember Rio Bravo?
Ah, that's what it is. They got everything here. Think they got a saloon?
Just up the street, partner. Aren't these wooden sidewalks great? It really gives an authentic ring to cowboy boots.
Now all you need, Steve, is a set of spurs.
That's true.
Hey, look at this. The Fix-It shop. Maybe they have a job for me.
And look at this, the Big Scoop ice cream parlor.
Wasn't there a big fire at the studio a while back?
Yeah, about 20 months ago, half the buildings here burned down. So this one's brand new.
It's amazing. The scenic painters have made it look old.
Oh, don't you forget to come over and see my show, boy.
We'll be there.
We'll be there.
If you're going to be in a Western, you better learn how to ride.
Steve, this is ridiculous.
Well, in the movies, they use little horses so the actors look bigger.
Right, this is still ridiculous.
Show's just about to begin, Norm.
Yeah.
Well, the West is so big that strong, handsome men are always on the move, and I never get a chance to latch onto that special fellow. From this valley, they say you are going. We will miss your bright eyes and sweet smile, for they say you are taking the sunshine that brightens our pathway along.
Now, Steve, that was great.
I think Lil has a sweet spot for you, buddy.
Yeah. Well, what's next?
How about a gunfight?
All right. Hey, Steve, look at that Spanish-style church. Looks like it's been here since the 1800s.
Yeah, but it's just a facade, Norm. Yet this is one of their most famous views with the mountains in the background. This was used in Three Amigos.
Who's in that?
Steve Martin, I think.
Yeah, what's going on here?
It's a staged Hollywood shootout. Let's watch.
Oh, boy, Dewey! All right. Say goodnight, darling. What?
Oh, good night, darling. We did it, yeah!
Casey, we saved the day.
That's pretty good.
That's a real horse, Steve.
So what do you think of Big Jake's Barbecue here?
They had barbecue back then?
Well, they got it now. But what's amazing is that this is a brand new building. It's made out of steel, conforms to all modern codes.
Wow, it looks ancient. I wonder how they accomplished this look.
Well, they got a hold of a bunch of old bridge timbers. They slabbed off the faces and used that for the siding.
Look at these windows. They look about 100 years old with the alligator paint and everything.
Brand new, and this is just a faux paint job.
Really? Well, Steve, it's getting late. Maybe we ought to head back to the job.
Yeah.
How do you suggest we get there?
We'll be riding in style, Norm.
Well, Steve, you won't convince me that this is a fake building put together by Scenic Carpenters.
No, it is real. It was built in 1939 for that set for the movie Arizona. Not by Scenic Carpenters, but by Papago Indians who live in structures like this.
It's amazing.
It's the real McCoy. It's Adobe. Come on, Norm. We don't want to be late.
Steve, we're going back to town in a stagecoach?
Gives a whole new meaning to the term riding in coach.
Hey, I hear these things are really uncomfortable. Suppose there's no chance of an upgrade to first class.
What you see is what you get. Come on, Norm. It'll be fun.
All right, if you say so.
You know any cowboy songs?
Oh, not
Well, that was a lot of fun. And I wish you could have seen the expression on Norm's face in that saloon. It was about as red as this floor, which is gorgeous. Now, next time we'll see some handmade Mexican tiles. And to find them, we'll go to the source. So until then, I'm Steve Thomas with This Old House.
Funding for This Old House is provided by
Glidden Paints, celebrating 120 years of making the world a more colorful place. Glidden, a better way to paint.
When it comes to tough hand tools, we're making a name for ourselves because they're made with a full lifetime warranty. That's Ace, the name to know for hand tools.
And by
State Farm Insurance. Keeping our promise of protection to generation after generation. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Production of WGBH, Boston.
This is PBS.